Croissant? It begins, as many good things do, with a simple, unassuming block of butter. Not just any butter, but a cold, firm slab of high-fat European-style butter, the kind that promises a shatteringly crisp and flaky future. The dough, a lean mixture of flour, water, yeast, and a touch of sugar, is equally humble in its initial state. It's soft, pliable, and unassuming. The magic, the part that transforms these simple ingredients into the layered, airy pastry we call a croissant, lies not in a secret ingredient but in a process. A long, demanding, and often frustrating process called lamination. This process is a teacher, and its primary lesson is one of trust. Baking, especially something as technically demanding as a croissant, is an exercise in surrendering control. You can't rush it, you can't force it, you can only follow the steps, respect the ingredients, and trust that the science and the technique will do their work. The first time I attempted croissants, I was a bundle of impatient energy. I saw the 24-hour timeline as a challenge to be conquered, a series of hurdles to be cleared as quickly as possible. My kitchen, usually a place of creative joy, became a battleground against time and temperature. I rushed the chilling periods, thinking a few minutes here or there wouldn't matter. I was too aggressive with my rolling pin, convinced that brute force could tame the dough into submission. The butter, my supposed partner in this culinary dance, became my adversary. It grew too warm, oozing from the seams of the dough, creating a greasy, unworkable mess. My first batch of croissants emerged from the oven as dense, buttery biscuits, a far cry from the ethereal honeycomb-crumb-ed crescents of my dreams. They were a delicious failure, but a failure nonetheless. And in that failure, the first seed of a crucial lesson was planted. I hadn't trusted the process. The process of making croissants is a conversation between you and the dough. It's a delicate negotiation with gluten, yeast, and fat. The first step is creating the détrempe, the dough block, and the burrage, the butter block. Then comes the lock-in, enclosing the cold butter within the dough like a precious secret. This is your first act of faith. You seal the edges, creating a package, and you have to trust that the butter will stay where it's supposed to. Then comes the first turn. You roll the package out into a long rectangle, carefully, evenly, feeling the butter and dough move together under the pressure of the pin. You're not just flattening it, you're elongating the layers. Then you fold it, like a letter, into thirds. This is one turn. And now, the most difficult part, for an impatient soul, you wait. The dough must go back into the cold. This resting period is non-negotiable. It allows the gluten, which has been stretched and worked, to relax. It ensures the butter remains cold and distinct from the dough. If the butter melts, your layers disappear, and with them, the magic. My second attempt was different. I approached the dough with a newfound respect, a sense of humility. I treated the recipe not as a set of instructions to be rushed through, but as a guide, a mantra. I measured my ingredients with precision. I monitored the temperature of my kitchen. I set timers for the chilling periods and honored them to the minute. Each time I took the dough out of the refrigerator, I could feel the change. It was firmer, more resilient. When I rolled it, there was a gentle resistance, a feeling of life within the dough. The butter stayed put. With each fold, the second turn, another rest. The third turn, another long rest. I was building something. I couldn't see the hundreds of layers I was creating, but I had to trust they were there. I was building a structure of alternating sheets of dough and butter, a microscopic architecture that would, with the help of oven heat, translate into flakiness. This time, I wasn't fighting the dough. I was working with it. I was listening to it. I learned to feel when it was becoming too warm, to see the faint sheen that signaled the butter was threatening to break through. I learned to stop, to wrap it gently, and to return it to the cold, giving it the time it needed. This act of trusting the process extends beyond the lamination. It's there when you finally cut the dough into long, elegant triangles. It says there as you gently stretch the triangle and roll it from its wide base to its narrow point, creating that iconic crescent shape. There's a moment of pure faith as you place these pale, unassuming shapes on a baking sheet. They look nothing like the final product. They are small, dense, and lifeless. Now, you must trust in the power of yeast and warmth. This is the proofing stage, where the croissants are left in a warm, humid place to rise. For hours, you wait. It's a quiet, watchful period. And slowly, miraculously, they begin to transform. They swell and puff up, becoming light and jiggly. The layers, which were compressed and hidden, begin to separate. You can almost see the air being trapped between them. This is the yeast doing its work, exhaling carbon dioxide and inflating the delicate structure you so carefully built. To rush this stage is to condemn your croissants to a dense, bready texture. You have to trust the yeast. You have to wait until the croissants are so full of air they tremble when you touch the pan. The final act of trust happens at the oven door. You brush them with a delicate egg wash, a final prayer for a golden, glossy crust. You slide them into the intense heat, and for a few minutes, you can only watch through the glass. This is the oven spring, the dramatic moment when the cold butter in the layers hits the hot air. The water in the butter turns to steam, pushing the dough layers apart with explosive force, creating the airy, open honeycomb crumb that is the hallmark of a perfect croissant. The smell that fills a kitchen is your first reward. A complex, intoxicating aroma of caramelizing sugar, browning butter, and baking bread. When they emerge, golden brown, impossibly puffed, and audibly crisp, the feeling is not just one of accomplishment, it's a feeling of vindication. Your trust has been rewarded. Learning to bake croissants taught me more than a pastry technique. It taught me patience. It taught me to observe, to feel, and to respond, rather than to force and command. It showed me that some of the most beautiful transformations require us to step back, to surrender control, and to simply trust the process. This lesson echoes far beyond the kitchen. In our careers, our relationships, and our personal growth, we often want to rush to the finish line. We want the promotion without the years of work, the deep connection without the slow build of shared experience, the wisdom without the painful lessons. We try to force things, to manipulate outcomes, to take shortcuts. But just like with the dough, this often leads to a greasy, disappointing mess. The real magic, the real growth, happens when we honor the steps, when we understand that the resting periods are just as important as the active work, when we build our layers, patiently and deliberately, even when we can't see the immediate results, when we have faith that the time, the effort, and the care we invest will eventually create something beautiful and resilient. It's about learning to trust that if you follow the right steps, if you are patient and respectful of the journey, the layers will form, the structure will build, and you will eventually rise. Croissant.